Hi, it's Asha with birthofyourlife.com. I keep laughing because this video is just not turning out. But I did want to share with you something that we discussed, met, and meditated on in this morning's meditation class. And we contemplated the sacred chalice principle, you are a seasonal being accepted. And what I have received from this principle is really this awareness that we are, that we have seasons in our lives, and so much of our societal construct has meant that we don't really acknowledge or honor the shadow or the dark aspects of our experience. So, for instance, things like, anger or sadness are things that we don't really value in our culture. We want things to be happy and fluffy and feel good. And the moment we start feeling, any emotion that is uncomfortable, whether it's anger or like I said, sadness, we just run away from it. And really what ends up happening is that these feelings end up being stored in our bodies, right? And so that's not a good or healthy, outcome. And so what do we do with this? So what I would say is to honor the season that you're in. Honor the sadness. Honor the information that the sadness brings or that the anger brings. I interviewed this incredible woman, Diane Lancaster, who wrote a book, Anger and the Indigo Child. And you can listen to the interview on spiritualhelpdesk.com, which is a venture that I do with 3 colleagues of mine where we do weekly interviews. And when I interviewed her, she said that the purpose of anger is to create change. And again, she brought back to me this knowing that everything we feel has a purpose and has a sacred reason why it's in our lives. So anyway, going back to this, you are a seasonal being accepted. It's really about radical acceptance of what is. And only when we can radically accept what is, whether, it's a crappy house that you're in, crappy financial situation, broken heart, non-harmony in your marriage, or not a fulfilling career or job, just really accepting that that is what is allows for a shift to happen. I mean, there has to be a death before a rebirth can occur. And so how can we allow for the death to happen? And I think in the acknowledgement is really the first step, the acknowledgement and the acceptance that this is really what it is. And what I find happens is that when we start not only accepting, but also having gratitude for what is, when we surrender this aspect of our lives and have gratitude for it without really understanding in our minds what the purpose of it is, but just the mere fact that we have gratitude for this thing showing up in our lives, then it has the space to shift into something else. Because it's almost like this part of you feels like it's been heard. Even if you don't understand it, at least it feels heard. I mean, it's not unlike, a child or being in relationship to someone. Sometimes it's not so much about understanding the person, but about listening to them. And when they feel that they are heard and that you are receiving their information, whether you understand it or not, the relationship has a chance to move to another level, right? You're able to then resolve the issue or come up with a solution. But until people feel heard, then no shift can really happen. And I think it's the same thing with feelings or aspects of our lives that we aren't as happy with. And if we can look at the seasons as, they happen. The tree doesn't complain that, no, I'm not going to let my leaves fall off. The tree goes with the flow of nature. The tree has no choice but to do that. It just so happens that we have choice to resist And I find that the more that we can settle into the flow, that doesn't mean sort of giving up and letting life take its course, but it really means just settling into the flow of our natural state of being. And in that place of acceptance and gratitude, I do think that we can then state from a place of being connected to our higher self, or our soul, or God, or divine pure consciousness, whatever you want to call it. From that place of really being connected, I do feel that in that place we can ask for what it is that we truly want. I can't wait to talk to you about the last Sacred Chalice principle, which is your needs and soul wants are provided even before you know you need or want them. Because I feel like these two principles work hand in hand. And although, the one we just talked about is the first one, and the one I just mentioned, the needs and soul wants, is the last one, they work beautifully together. And because they're feminine principles, of course, they're, kind of represent the full circle of how, they're not really linear, they're more circular in nature. But more about that towards the end. But yeah, I just wanted to talk to you about the Sacred Chalice principle. Again, a Sacred Chalice principle number 1, you are a seasonal being, accept it. And if you want to know a little bit more about the Sacred Chalice principles, you can go to birthofyourlife.com, and you should see a tab that says Sacred Chalice Principles, and you can read a little more about them. All right? Well, I really appreciate you listening, and I hope that you have an amazing day. See you soon.